I came to Thomas Mann House to finish my book about the 90s, and it so happened that was the perfect time to come here because the 90s ended in a lot of ways with the first election of Donald Trump as a president. And I came here now in the aftermath of the second election of Donald Trump. And there was a lot of hand-wringing, trying to understand why this had happened and how this could have happened. And it was interesting to talk to people here for Thanksgiving, for example, about how they saw Kamala Harris' loss, how they explained it. And there was a lot of, I think, misconceptions about when this all started. And of course, it did start in a lot of ways in the 90s. That's my proposition. And so it was a nice arc to come here and, in a way, see the finishing line of my book in real time. And what happened at the event here at the house was really satisfying for me because it was the first time I discussed some of the themes of the book. I had two really interesting speakers here to join me from a perspective from Sweden and from perspective from the United States, how the Democratic Party evolved since in the 90s, what's the role of Clinton in shaping today's political landscape problems. And there was a lovely audience. It was really nice to feel at home in a liberal environment to discuss quite complicated topics, actually, of political, I wouldn't say decline, but political conundry, if that's the word, difficulties in democratic practice, for sure, that are quite apparent in this day and age in this country, but also in Germany. The story of the 90s is in a lot of ways the question of what democracy should be and can be, and being in a place where one person wrestled basically night and day, or mornings mostly, because he was writing mornings mostly, I think, with that question was quite moving. It's a special place to think about democracy in the surroundings of a person who wrote eloquently about German and the Germans, or German democracy, or democracy in general, and who saw himself as an American. Did he ever? I don't know. But who saw these both sides, both countries, and who was trying to bridge also his personal contradictions, I think, in understanding if he was really a Democrat or if he just adopted that role. But he adopted it really well, for sure, and he had a great, clear voice. So it's a very, very inspiring place to write, for sure, because it has this inbuilt ambition in some way in this place that you need to strive for clarity and a vision. So that's I think what I hoped, at least, I hope I achieved in finishing the book. I was struck by the question of this year's topic, democracy and vulnerability, and it changed, I think, before I came, but also coming here. I had an event with the Goethe Institute where there was a diverse crowd of people discussing community work and how to talk differently about democracy, how to think differently about democracy. And so I think the theme was meant to be that democracy is vulnerable. But actually, I think if you turn it around, it's much more meaningful, at least for me. So how can vulnerability create a democratic understanding, or commonality, or common bonds, or a common set of practices? If we accept each other's vulnerability, it's one condition for democracy to prosper. And I think what people don't do enough these days is to accept that, or to shield themselves, or they get angry because they feel vulnerable, and that's, I think, the danger at the moment. My choice ultimately was to stay on the mountain, to to stay here in the house. I thought LA is there. I trusted it to be there, but didn't need to go there. So my highlight was really sitting in my favorite spot behind the house with the 3 palms and read and write. Might be boring, but it's a beautiful place, aloof, removed, the light, the California light. So that was my highlight, to be here.